Eli Cohen today became the highest-ranking Israeli official to visit Ukraine since Russia began its invasion of that country nearly a year ago. Now, the trip comes against the backdrop of the sometimes contentious relationship between Kyiv and Jerusalem over the Israeli government's refusal to provide Ukraine with the military equipment and weapons it has pleaded for. As senior correspondent Bianca Zanini reports, Minister Cohen has to walk a fine line in building ties with Ukraine without antagonizing the Kremlin.
A historic visit, remembering the horrors of the past, marking the pain of the present, and making promises for the future. Israel's foreign minister spent Thursday in Ukraine. Eli Cohen is the most senior Israeli official to take the trip since Russia began its invasion of Ukraine almost 1 year ago.
Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. Nice to meet you too.
After much speculation on whether it would happen, Cohen met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. While meeting with officials in Kyiv, air raid sirens were heard blaring across the capital, underlining the harsh reality of the Ukrainian people. The visit is a delicate balance for Israel and comes at a time where Kyiv is asking for increased support from allies. Israel has sought to walk a neutral line, sending humanitarian aid but no military support to Ukraine, to avoid upsetting the strategic security relationship with Moscow. At a joint briefing with his Ukrainian counterpart, Dmytro Kuleba, Cohen did not mention Russia.
Israel, as stated in the past, stands firmly in solidarity with the people of Ukraine and remain committed to the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. We are going to support and help approve a guarantee up to $200 million for Israeli project in healthcare and civilian infrastructure in Ukraine.
He added that Israel will support Ukraine's peace initiative at the UN next week.
There is no objective reason why Ukraine and Israel shouldn't stand shoulder to shoulder today, tomorrow, and always.
Cohen's on a whirlwind visit in the region. After making a one-day stop in Turkey, he landed in Poland on Wednesday before taking an overnight train to Kyiv. He began his visit in Bucha, a Kyiv suburb, where Russian forces are accused of slaughtering over 450 civilians last year. He then visited the Holocaust memorial Babi Yar, where Nazis and local collaborators murdered over 30,000 Jews in 1941. During his day-long visit, Cohen also announced the return of the Israeli embassy in Kyiv.
And with us in studio for more is Ambassador Danny Ayalon. He's the former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister and former Israeli Ambassador to the United States. Danny, thanks for joining.
Sure, pleasure.
Now, reports coming out of that meeting between Foreign Minister Cohen and President Zelensky. We heard the minister say that Israel would provide this aid, financial aid, that Ukraine has been asked for. Now reports coming out that they also discussed the possibility of Israel assisting in some way with air defense. It's not clear in what way. But the question is, as Bianca said, how far can Israel go now without antagonizing Russia to the point where it could take retaliation to Israel, be it in the Syrian field, be it the issue of Jewish immigration from Russia? There's many areas.
Yes, well, I would say it depends. You know, Russia today is in no way has the same capacity as it had a year ago, or certainly before the war started. I think since then, Russia's might and even perception as a superpower is going down. It's a wounded bear. So of course,
a wounded bear can still be dangerous.
Absolutely, even more so than none. Yes, so we cannot poke them in the eyes. However, I would say it depends on how the Russians will deal with Iran. So far, we see it one way. The direction is that Iran is strategically helping Russia with drones, with some ballistic missiles and other military equipment. However, if it will go the other way around, especially in the nuclear area, that will be a red line for Israel. And I believe this is the parameter of what Israel can do in the Ukraine. So far, it's humanitarian aid. It may be even in projects, you know, in reconstruction of Ukraine after the war. This is fine. I don't think weapons is in the cards, as I don't think it was, I would say, justified for NATO countries or Western countries to call on Israel to supply weapons to Ukraine when they did not. Only now we see battle tanks coming out of NATO countries and the United States to the Ukraine, maybe fighter jets and all that. This is, I think, their job to do. We can do whatever we can in humanitarian, and we have been very, very effective, especially with the field hospital. So I think right now it is, I guess there's no doubt that Israel is on the Ukrainian side, in terms of solidarity, in terms of territorial and integrity of Ukraine. This is where we are.
All right, there's a limit, though. Well, for more, let's go to our correspondent, Pierre Closhandler, who is with Foreign Minister Eli Cohen there in Kyiv. And Pierre, that meeting did come off at the end between Eli Cohen and President Zelensky. What do we know about coming out of that meeting?
Well, what we know is that President Volodymyr Zelensky, to the delight of Israel's foreign minister, said that Israel and Ukraine share a common enemy, Iran. And that was one of the goals that was assigned to the Israeli mission here in Kyiv, in Ukraine, to enlist Ukraine to speak out on the international arena on the Iranian issue, because Ukraine has been attacked by Iranian drones. And thus, that was a very important goal. Another goal was obviously to show the Western world, and in particular NATO countries, that Israel stands by Ukraine. And the third goal was to show solidarity with the people of Ukraine, and hence the visit in Bucha at the mass grave where over 450 Ukrainian civilians were killed by Russian troops during the invasion in the early stages. Now, there are no talks about weapons. Volodymyr Zelensky, according to what we hear, never asked about weapons to Israel. What he asked for, and he's going to get, is an early warning system. For instance, this morning, when Eli Cohen met with his counterpart, Dmytro Kuleba, at the Foreign Ministry in Kiev, there was the sounding of an alarm all over Ukraine, including Kiev. But Kiev was not targeted. Other provinces were targeted. That means that there is a need for a smarter early warning system, and Israel is going to assist Ukraine in developing such system, and we hear it's going to be ready in 3 to 6 months, preferably in 3 months from now. Other projects have been discussed, such as Israel giving a $200 million loan guarantee to build a hospital. Also, Zelensky asked for help of Israel to build schools, because schools have been bombarded. And also to help his wife's project regarding resilience centers and treatment of PTSDs. Also treatment of more Ukrainian and civilian and soldiers in Israeli hospitals. So there is a flurry of activities that need to be devised, that need to be designed, but what Eli Cohen says is that mission was accomplished.
Mission accomplished for now. Pierre Closhandler in Kyiv, thank you for that.